This is a 13 Weather Impact Alert.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon, West Michigan. I'm meteorologist Blake Hansen. Joining me is meteorologist Anna Myers and also meteorologist Colton Woods. We are fully staffed here in the Weather Center. Meteorologist Amber Twardy, she is going to get some good sleep later on today. Well, she's probably staying up as this potential severe weather comes through West Michigan. But, you know, we've been talking about it for the last couple days now. We have the opportunity of severe weather here in West Michigan. And that's going to be our focus now, really starting now through the next several hours. But I think one of the things we've seen here, guys, is that the greatest threat over the next few hours does appear to be closer to the I-94 corridor.
Yeah.
So for those that are going to be joining us, you know, we're going to talk a lot about Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun County, so cities such as Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. We're going to be highlighting those cities a lot over the next couple hours compared to a little bit farther to the north. Now, everyone has a severe weather risk here in West Michigan, but I think the trend has been that the farther north you go of I-96 today, your severe weather risk looks a bit on the limited side. So let's get into it. This is what we're watching right now, satellite and radar. Generally, we've seen a few showers, a few run-of-the-mill thunderstorms today, been very here and there in coverage, nothing of a washout per se. In fact, over the last couple hours, we've seen some sunshine break through a fair chunk of the area, especially from Muskegon, Grand Rapids to the south. We did have a brief thunderstorm in parts of Ionia and also into Montcalm County within the last couple hours. You can see that on radar here. We'll zoom in here. This is a loop over the last few hours. And you can see roughly around 2, 3 o'clock, a few of those storms progressing in parts of Montcalm and Ionia County, but that now appears to be heading towards Alma, St. John's, a little bit outside of our neck of the woods. This is what we're focusing on, and you can see this line of thunderstorms progressing through Indiana right now. Those yellow boxes you see on the map there, those are individual tornado watches from the Storm Prediction Center. So the one tornado watch does include much of the state of Indiana and also encompasses some of the counties in southern Michigan right near the state line. So Berrien, Cass, St. Joseph County, those counties are under a tornado watch from the Storm Prediction Center. As of now, there is no additional watch across West Michigan. That may change shortly, especially for our counties along I-94. Over the next 30 to 45 minutes, we'll see what the Storm Prediction Center does, but wouldn't be surprised a few more counties here at home are added to a tornado watch as this line of thunderstorm development continues to progress through Indiana. And this is all heading in a east-northeast direction. So these are the thunderstorms ongoing right now. It does appear that this is a new warning in Berrien County right now.
Oh, yeah.
That does appear to be the case. So we do have this line of thunderstorm development that's progressing through Indiana right now. And this line, you can call it a squall line or a little bit of a bow echo. The main threat with this line is damaging straight line winds. Some of the warnings here, this is just outside of South Bend to the south. I'll stop the radar loop here. Yeah, you can see this is a nasty line of thunderstorm development. Turn on lightning real quick. Yeah, there's a lot of lightning associated with it too. But the threat in this warning, again, this is not in West Michigan right now. This is in mostly western Indiana. Some of the maximum wind with this thunderstorm could be upwards of 70 miles per hour. But it does appear a new watch, or I should say a new warning, was just issued for Berrien County within the last few minutes. This goes until 4:30 this afternoon, so good 40 minutes or so until 4:30. This is a baseline severe thunderstorm warning for Berrien County. The possibility is there that there could be winds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Hail to a lesser extent, maybe some pea-size to penny-size hail with this thunderstorm as it continues to push into parts of northern Indiana and eventually into southwest Michigan. But I'm going to go back here and we're going to kind of loop this storm, take off a few things. And by the way, we're here on 13 plus, and we're going to stay with you over the next hour at least until we get to our regular programming here on WZZM 13 on your side at about 5 o'clock. But generally, this thunderstorm is progressing to the north and east at about, what was that, about 50 miles per hour?
50 to 60, yeah.
And what's that warning there?
Hold on, I just had it.
Oh, you're good. I think that's moving at about 50 miles per hour. We're going to get a good loop here. There we go. Moving north at 65
60.
miles per hour now. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's starting to speed up a little bit. But if we take this line, we're just going to do this baseline, moving to more to the north. So we'll go right here. You know, we were looking at this reaching the southwest corner of the state, so that's the New Buffalo area at about 4:06, 10 minutes from now. Niles, 4:22. And then we start getting into the Three Rivers area at about 5 o'clock on the dot. Kalamazoo just a touch after 5 with the progression of this storm moving to the northeast. So we'd be looking at Kalamazoo roughly 5 to 5:10 or so. That the storm would be on the doorstep, and then into the door area if it continued its north and east progression to about 5:28, 5:30 in the door area. You know, we did mention that we are really kind of honing in here that the biggest threat for severe weather as we progress farther into this afternoon, into the early evening, will be in the way of our I-94 counties. That appears to be where we have the best ingredients for severe weather today, and also just based on what's going on right now, the progression of these thunderstorms in Indiana. That's what it is appearing like. We're going to get to, trying to get an hour by hour forecast here. If I can find my map. Here we go. So this is what we're kind of tracking here over the next hour. This is right now, 3 o'clock. Notice by about 5, 6 o'clock, and these storms are pushing into southwest Michigan. The biggest threat you can see there is south of I-96. This model depicting that the strongest storms would be closer to I-94 back down to the state line. And these storms will continue to push in that north and east progression, maybe even a little more easterly once this makes it into southern Michigan as we get into the early evening hours. So again, you can kind of tell here that while the threat isn't zero farther north of, let's say, a Muskegon to Grand Rapids line, the threat is more positioned towards our southern communities near Kalamazoo, near Battle Creek, maybe as far north as Allegan, into Berry, Eaton County, maybe the southern half of Ionia and Kent County. So from I-96 to the south, that's the better case. And really, you know, I think the biggest thing, guys, here is that it looks like once we get to about 8, 9 o'clock, our severe weather threat is going to be done with.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is going to quickly race. You know, these storms are moving, you know, almost 60, 65 miles per hour right now. They're already, you know, on the doorstep of, you know, southwest corner of the state. It looks like these are going to push to the east side of the state rather quickly as we get into the 8, 9 o'clock hour to the east side of the state. And then what we'll be left with really the rest of the night is that shower, scattered shower, run-of-the-mill thunder chance. Not expecting any additional severe weather once we progress past midnight. So while we'll have some rain around, at times a bit on the heavy side, our severe chance will come to an end, and then we'll just deal with some lingering showers come tomorrow morning, and then we dry out completely, and then our focus will become the building heat this weekend. You know, a couple things that are favorable in our atmosphere right now is that we have broken out into a little bit of sunshine. Notice the warmth. Where is it at the warmest right now? Well, towards I-94. It's 83 in Kalamazoo right now, 83, the same number in Allegan and Hastings. Look at some of the moisture that's present in our atmosphere. We have more than enough moisture for storms to feed off of. Dew points well into the 60s, even a balmy 70 degree dew point in Three Rivers and Hillsdale. Yeah, it's a tropical air mass for us. So that's going to be the thing. I think the other side of the story here is that we're likely going to have some heavy rain potential here because we have so much moisture in our atmosphere. The Weather Protection Center, that's another entity of NOAA, they issue what we call excessive rainfall outlooks. And this is a little bit different than the typical risk that we talk about in terms of severe weather, but this is focusing primarily on heavy rain and flash flooding potential. And they have a 1 through 4 scale, and all of West Michigan is in this level 2 out of 4 slight risk for the opportunity of flash flooding as we progress into this evening, because these storms are producing a lot of rain. In fact, some of the rain amounts in parts of Illinois and Indiana right now producing rainfall rates of over 3, 4 to upwards of 5 inches per hour. The ground can't soak that much rain in that short of a time. So there is the possibility that we could have some localized flash flooding, and that has been already the case in the east side of the state. The east side of the state had a few thunderstorms just a few hours ago. In fact, what does appear to be a tornado that did touch the ground on the east side of the state, and they also dealt with some flash flooding in communities in Metro Detroit. So notice when we talk about our excessive rainfall rate, this is just one particular model. Now, with the nature of thunderstorms, our numbers are not going to be uniform by any means. We're going to have a wide range of rainfall amounts here in West Michigan, but you can see that there is the opportunity here that we could easily have 1, 2, maybe localized 3-inch rain amounts by the end of tonight into tomorrow morning. So while we do need the rain, we're in a little bit of a low-level drought right now, at least abnormally dry. There is the possibility that those that are in low-lying areas, poor drainage spots, those urban areas that just don't drain well in terms of heavy amounts of rain, could struggle a bit as these storms head into West Michigan. So that is kind of our focus right now, a twofold of the severe storm possibility near I-94, and then again, the flash flooding, or at least the heavy rain potential all across West Michigan. So guys, what are you kind of looking at right now? Anna, Colton, I'll leave it to you for right now. What are some things that you're looking at?
Yeah, so if we switch it over to Max 2, like Blake said earlier, we are in a rainfall deficit, that is for sure. This is the rainfall deficit for our big cities in West Michigan for just the month of June. And you can see, yeah, Anna, we're in quite a deficit.
Wow.
Grand Rapids, almost 2 inches. So it is possible that we could just make up that deficit all tonight with this storm. Obviously, like we've been talking about, that probably wouldn't be good. But Holland also approaching 2 inches of a rainfall deficit. And you can notice it outside. I mean, much of the grassy surfaces, they're looking pretty brown. I know if you don't have sprinklers, your lawn might be a little parched, that's for sure. So we do need the rain, but like what Blake said, we definitely don't need it to come all in one evening. But if I go over to the current storms in northern Indiana, take a look at the current precipitation rate. This just gives us an idea of how heavy the rainfall is actually falling right now. It's loading here, but if we zoom in on the storms in Indiana, it's taking a little bit. You can see there's some pretty heavy rain.
Yeah.
Look at those colors.
Yeah, especially approaching the South Bend area.
Put a little query there. What do we got here?
Approaching
Up to
3
3
inches.
inches an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's pretty heavy.
That's torrential rain,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Anytime we start seeing rainfall amounts in an hour of 1 inch per hour, that's heavy rain. You start getting to 2 to 3 inches per hour. That is, we say, coming down in buckets.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. It does appear like there's going to, based on some of the conversation with the Weather Service, they are maybe discussing a potential severe thunderstorm watch for some of the counties here in West Michigan. It really does appear to be that those counties near I-94 best serve, the biggest chance of severe weather over the next hour. Colton, bring up back to just regular radar here. In terms of what are the current watches and warnings that we got going on? I think there's one tornado warning in Indiana right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do we got here? One tornado warning?
To the west of Fort Wayne.
Yep.
But that's it right now.
There's the tornado warning. Oops, I'll just switch to tornado real quick. Yeah, so there's a 1 tornado warning.
And that's just radar indicated right now. So, yeah, what you're getting there is that probably right on the notch there of that line, there's just enough, embedded rotation. It's a similar, very similar to what we saw in our severe weather event come May. Oh, that was in mid-May, May 15th, and then again on March 30th. We had these lines come through, and these little notches up and down the line, and those are quick hitting tornadoes. They don't usually last too long. For the most part, the majority of these tornadoes this year have been EF0 and EF1 tornadoes. I think all of them have, in fact, here in the state of Michigan. And that's what usually happens with the orientation of this, squall line, this bow echo, however you want to put it. But you can get some of these individual notches up and down the line where you just have enough inflow and outflow of your winds to support some rotation. And we do have favorable wind shear in our environment today, which means, a changing of wind either in the way of direction or speed with height. And all that means for you at home is that that's just more susceptible for storms to have rotation and therefore have the opportunity to produce a tornado. And that's something we'll be looking for as these storms try to work their way into West Michigan. But again, I really want to make, kind of this clear. I don't want to say anyone's in the clear for severe weather today because this event is just starting. But I really do think you get farther north of I-96, north of a Muskegon Grand Rapids line, the chance is going to be pretty limited today. Colton, I want you just to zoom over, Lake Michigan right now. A big part of this, look at this big batch of rain that's starting to push into parts of, West Michigan. This is moving a little bit to the, east-northeast. This is going to clip a lot of our communities near and north of I-96. So while we're going to have a lot of heavy rain ongoing, just because we have so much moisture in our atmosphere, that's also going to take away the energy, the instability that's going to be needed for this line to come through. And that's why I think we're going to see this line of thunderstorms while move into maybe our I-94 counties, maybe just a touch farther to the north. This is going to be more to the east than heading into the east side of the state in the coming hours.
Yeah, so probably more south and east of that line.
Yeah, south and east of that line appears to be the best chance for some severe weather, and that's what we were, kind of discussing earlier today. Even late last night, there was somewhat of that trend that this main line coming through was going to be a little bit farther to the south, but that's definitely something we'll be, watching within this next hour. But these storms are moving quick, that's for sure.
What I'm kind of intrigued about are these cells popping out ahead of this bow echo, if you want to call that, because I think that's the warm front, guys. Like right about there. So if those continue to grow or upscale, I wouldn't be shocked if those have a little bit more of a heightened tornado risk. If it's right along the warm front with all the low-level shear that's present in that area.
Yeah, we'll need to watch out. And you can see a few of those storms, whether that Cass, St. Joseph County, even another individual storm there in Van Buren County. Yeah, you got a few pop-up storms right there. Yeah, that'll be something to watch for this next hour, how those storms behave. Because now, we've really broken out into a lot of sunshine in many spots. We take a look over some of our cameras here, see what we got here. At least some filtered sunshine over the last hour or two. It's not a complete overcast sky, but generally, that's what we're going to have to be looking for. Clouds are starting to work back in because of that main line, that main swath of rain over Lake Michigan. But, just a quick 30 minutes ago, over the last hour, we were in a fair amount of sunshine across West Michigan. So our atmosphere has somewhat destabilized. Again, and we the numbers support that. We're in the lower 80s, from Grand Rapids to the south. So there is some energy available in our atmosphere right now.
Yeah, this was about an hour and 15 minutes ago, and you can just see how much sunshine we had across northern Indiana, southwest Michigan. So like Blake was saying, that's really adding the fuel for these storms as they march off to the northeast and impact southwest Michigan.
Yep, exactly. So currently, let's get back to, what we have warning-wise here. We have one warning here in Berrien County that goes until 4:30, and you can see why. It's this northern extent of the line that's coming through right now. I'll kind of put this in sweeping mode too, a little bit better. There it is. You can see that northern extent, and that's probably progressing, right towards Berrien County here within the next 10 to 15 minutes. And then just based on, you can see, this is a look at velocity, the wind here. You can see the difference in the wind. So the coloring of red here is your outbound winds away from the Fort Wayne radar. This is the radar. We got the radar set here in Fort Wayne. And then the green is inbound towards Fort Wayne. But you can see the surging wind from the south to north. And there's what appears to be a watch. I'm assuming that's going to be the watch. We have our NOAA weather radio here in the studio. So if you hear any beeping there.
Looks like it's a watch, Blake.
All right, let's see here. We got the, looks like that watch. I'm wondering how many counties that's going to be for. We'll let this load.
The southern 2 rows of our area.
Yep, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, yep. I'm gonna get rid of this box here. Okay, so severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock. Now, again, this also includes the entire eastern half of lower Michigan as well, all of Metro Detroit, so that's why the timing is until 10 o'clock. Our risk is probably only gonna go about till 7, 8 at the latest. But Allegan, Barry, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun, we can also include Eaton County in there as well. Those 6 counties here for our viewing area, you're at 13 on your side. This is a severe thunderstorm watch, not a tornado watch, just a severe thunderstorm watch. As it does appear, the main risk is going to be damaging wind as that line tries to push into parts of West Michigan. So really, I think everything is on track of what we are thinking here in terms of this line. Notice Ottawa, Kent, Ionia County to the north. No severe thunderstorm watch in play from the Storm Prediction Center. Not saying that severe weather is not going to happen. I wouldn't go that far just yet, but it does appear that the risk is rather limited at this point of where we're at right now, based on the ingredients that are available and also the orientation of this line and the direction of this line, where it's progressing to the east-northeast. So again, Allegan, Barry, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun County, that's going to be our focus over the next few hours as the severe thunderstorm watch comes through. I think the biggest thing is that primary threats include scattered damaging wind gusts to 70 miles per hour, maybe some large hail up to an inch and a half in diameter. So we're talking maybe up to ping pong size hail. And, just like we've seen in the last couple severe weather events, maybe a tornado or two embedded in that line of damaging straight line winds. So that's what we got there.
Nothing too much on here, just listing all of them.
And again, this goes until 10 o'clock just because, this includes all of those counties on the east side of the state. This includes Lansing, this includes Flint, also includes all of Metro Detroit in downriver. So, if you have friends or family on the east side of the state, or maybe you're watching here on 13 Plus from the east side of the state, that is going to be something you'll be having to keep an eye on as we go farther into this evening. So I want to get back to kind of our model progression here over the next couple hours. And I think this particular model run that we're showing here is doing a really good job. You can kind of see here, let me just do this. I'm going to zoom out real quick. You can kind of see that this model is doing a really good job of the positioning of this line compared to where it's what's actually ongoing right now. So that gives us good confidence in this particular model that we have this northward progression of this line of thunderstorms coming into Berrien County rather shortly. You can see that this is going to progress. This line is going to continue. This is around 5 o'clock. And so we get to about 5 o'clock and we'll zoom back in here. You can see that those main thunderstorms this model is trying to showcase is in the area of that severe thunderstorm watch. So again, this is Allegan, this is Barry, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun County, Eaton County as well, then stretching back down to the state line. This is then going to quickly race eastward, probably to the east of Hastings and Battle Creek by about 6, 7 o'clock. So again, our severe weather risk will likely be done in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then this will focus to the east side of the state. This is, 8 o'clock. Those storms are moving into Ann Arbor, Detroit, Flint, and then getting into the eastern half of the state, and then probably most likely then into parts of western Ontario as we get towards sunset. And then what we'll contend with is those scattered showers, non-severe thunderstorms through the rest of tonight as that low pressure system works overhead and then pivots to our east. But again, this is our focus, this line of thunderstorm activity, and looks like they dropped that warning right there.
Yeah, they did.
It's a little intriguing there.
The tornado warning?
Yeah.
I'm just clipping this watch to do social. Oops.
So it seems like this general direction is about the best I bet here. So yeah, Anna, I mean, it's looking like, we'll get to the Niles area within the next 10 minutes, 425, Three Rivers at about 4:50, and then into the Sturgis, Kalamazoo area right around 5:10.
They have this whole line warned with severe thunderstorm warnings too,
Yeah,
so wouldn't be shocking if they did something similar as it came into our area.
Yeah, that makes sense. It definitely seems like this line, by far the main risk here is the damaging straight line threat. But again, just like we've seen in those past few events, have to always keep an eye on any little notch in the line if we can see some quick rotation come through. But again, back to the timing, then this would continue to move into, along the I-94 corridor, maybe just a little bit to the north, the Battle Creek area around 527. So this is going to move quickly in the West Michigan, parts of West Michigan, over the next hour. That's going to be pretty much what we're looking at here as we get into 5 o'clock or so. Besides that, that is what we have here, and then we have this batch of rain that is now pressing onto the lakeshore here from Saugatuck, Holland. This is just general rain right now. In fact, a little bit of lightning, a few rumbles of thunder and lightning trying to push into the lakeshore. But generally, nothing that is screaming severe weather. This is the look in Holland last minute. Still looks dry for the most part, but yeah, skies are starting to darken and rain will probably be working overhead pretty soon. But it makes sense where the severe thunderstorm watch is at right now. Our warmest temperatures are from Allegan, Berry County to the south in those lower 80s right now, compared to farther to the north, Big Rapids, you're only sitting at 72. Mecosta's at 69, so a touch cooler.
That's a marine warning.
A marine warning, okay, thank you. So a little bit farther to the north, a little less oomph in our atmosphere with these numbers. Now, again, we have a lot of moisture present in our atmosphere. Our dew points all across West Michigan are in the upper 60s to around 70 degrees, so a very muggy air mass. You step outside, you can almost cut the air with a knife. It is quite muggy outside, so there's definitely the favorable ingredients there for some storms with the heat southward of I-96 towards I-94. And the other thing too here, this is the broader risk, severe weather risk from the Storm Prediction Center. They have made no changes to this. Generally, that level 3 enhanced risk that is shaded in orange is roughly from Holland, the southern half, mostly the bottom third of Kent and Ionia County back to the state line. It does appear that they did cut off the slight risk a little bit, Anna. Notice that, north of Muskegon now, northern half of Muskegon, you get towards Whitehall, you get towards Pentwater, and then especially towards Ludington, that risk is now just a level 1 marginal risk. So they have cut back on that risk generally north of Muskegon, and that does make sense based on what we're seeing here. In fact, I would, could argue that you could probably cut this slight risk even a little bit more, but just to make things look reasonable from a messaging standpoint, that level 2 risk still across Muskegon to Big Rapids, stretching eastward towards the Tri-Cities, Saginaw, Midland, and such. So
I just read something as well that said they were kind of keeping their eye where the front was stalling a little bit to where that convection was moving through. So perhaps they kept the enhanced there because the front was stalling slightly just to make sure everything was covered.
Yep. That's that's the best way to do it. Rather be on the safe side here when we're talking about severe weather risk.
Exactly.
You got this stalling front nearby. And Colton just mentioned this. We have a few of these thunderstorms popping up ahead of the main line here. Get lightning on here too.
Some of those smaller storms that are popping up have rainfall rates close to 2 inches an hour as well.
Yeah, so this is a little bit just south of our area, but in the Three Rivers area, a little bit eastward to the west of Coldwater, kind of Three Rivers to Coldwater, just to the north of there. Yeah, these cells producing some heavy rain. Yeah, I really think that's going to be what people are going to notice the most.
Definitely.
This is going to be some torrential rain that is going to be reaching the ground here for a wide swath of West Michigan.
Yeah, even if you're not necessarily going to see those severe storms move through, as you mentioned, the heavy rainfall will be something people definitely need to keep in mind if they're heading out the door tonight, or even if you're staying in, because we're just gonna.
And we see this a lot too. Those poor drainage spots.
Yes,
those
exactly.
urban areas. I'm sure people that are nearby an area that floods easily. Your awareness is a little bit on the heightened side right now, because you just know that any time that you get a lot of heavy rain in a short period of time, those individual places or areas tend to flood quickly. It might not be long lasting per se, but it definitely is easy to flood. In terms of what we got here, I'm going to look at any hail potential here in this storm here in Berrien County. There was a little bit of an individual cell that just popped up. Try to get to it, show you, Anna, right here north of Berrien Springs. A little bit of small hail possible. Nothing that's screaming big time hail. Same thing with those storms near Three Rivers, just to the north of Three Rivers, to the northwest of Coldwater. Maybe just enough for some pea-size hail. Nothing that's screaming big time hail as of now.
It does have a pretty high rain rate with that. It's picking up around an inch or so, inch and a half per hour. Even just for that small of a cell.
Let's see, we're going to get back here, looking at velocity here. So I just want to show you here. Let's see if we can, maybe a little bit of a downburst. Maybe some gustier winds right here. And what I'm kind of pointing out at here is not necessarily sensing any rotation here, but to the north and west of Berrien Springs. This is moving towards US 31, so a little south of St. Joseph, Benton Harbor. Maybe some gustier winds reaching the surface here. We have these environments with a lot of moisture. Our atmosphere is moisture laden, and sometimes what can happen is that we get these microbursts. All that means is that you got so much rain up in the atmosphere that these storms can't hold them, and they quickly release to the surface. And you could be seeing similar situations here over the next few hours, where we get some quick gusty winds reaching the surface. That's just to the north and west of Berrien Springs. And not really sensing any rotation here, but does look like maybe a little bit in the way of some brief gustier winds. Nothing that's really showcasing here out of those storms that are kind of in to the north of Three Rivers. But again, we have this main line that's trying to come through. It's really in northern Indiana right now, and we'll see how this pivots over the next hour. But generally, this is going to be, you can kind of see the loop here. I'm kind of going back and forth, that this should clip those counties that just got introduced to the watch within the last 10 minutes. So from Allegan, Berry, Eaton, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun County, that northern fringe of the line, and maybe even these storms that are trying to pop off ahead of the main line, does present the opportunity of some damaging wind. That's going to be the primary threat as these storms roll through. We'll go back to kind of a loop here. If you're just joining us here on 13 plus, this main line right here is moving to the kind of the northeast here. So we'll go right about here. Nothing's really changed.
No.
You know, the timing still looks rather similar to what we had a few minutes ago, you know, in the Decatur area around 4:50, Kalamazoo at 5:10-ish or so, Allegan at 5:20 per se. That's if that storm can make it into Allegan proper. That would be about 5:20. Battle Creek right around 5:30, and again, same thing for Hastings. If this storm can kind of keep its momentum to the north and east, you know, right around 5:40 or so, that's going to be the progression. But definitely just not sensing a bigger, any widespread severe threat farther to the north.
Yeah.
It really just doesn't scream it to me. We're getting a lot of rain now pushing on shore. I want to kind of go back to that Holland camera just to see if I can find my Holland camera. There we go. Yeah, sky's still darkening up, and it kind of looks like the pavement's a little bit on the wet side right now. So wouldn't be surprised rain's right on the doorstep here if you're in the Holland area. But again, with the other side of this is that we do have that opportunity of some localized flash flooding over the next few hours. This yellow shading you see on the map, that is different than what we just showed in terms of that severe weather risk. This is from the Weather Prediction Center and their outlook for excessive rainfall, and they only go up to 4 categories instead of the 5 that the Storm Prediction Center does for severe weather. This slight risk, this is going to be mostly for a short-term period, you know, so a brief couple hours of maybe some localized flooding as these storms, the batch of rain comes through, and especially those areas that are more vulnerable to flooding very easily when you get heavy rain amounts. You know, if you're in a house, your basement floods a little bit on the easier side, you know, I would just kind of have that in the back of your mind that that's something that could happen if you get in a spot where thunderstorms are training over one another or just sitting on the same location for a good hour or two, because as Anna has said, some of these rainfall rates have been easily over an inch.
Some were close to even 3 inches
Yeah.
even on those smaller cells.
3 inches per hour. So that's definitely what we need to keep an eye on for any of those thunderstorms that do pop off.
And those colors on reflectivity, even on the models, they are picking up some pretty high rainfall rates as well within the line that we're seeing to our south, and then the smaller cells right now.
Yeah,
they're both showing that.
And I think that model's doing a very good job.
I do too.
You know, you always got to treat the models with caution sometimes. You know, they are just a model. They aren't real life. But that is doing a really good job of showcasing what's going on right now here at real time. And those storms moving, you know, more east-northeast as they get into lower Michigan. But generally, we're still got that severe thunderstorm warning for Berrien County. This pops up on the map here, yeah. For 2 more minutes. We'll see if they extend that a little farther. That northern extent of the line is just getting into the southern half of the county. So this is just for Berrien County right now. Maybe some wind gust upwards of 60 miles per hour. That seems to be the main risk here. Of course, some torrential rain. You talk about thunder or lightning. Yeah, there's a fair amount of thunder and lightning around.
They just issued a tornado, not in our area, to our south with that line, and earlier I think where there was some rotation by Goshen, Indiana.
Yep, there it is. So in the Elkhart area, or Elkhart County, there is Elkhart proper. Kind of want to see here what we got on. Oh, that's not what I want. This is right near the radar site too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah?
there it is. Yeah. Again,
see
this is
Yeah.
just to make this clear, this is not in West Michigan. This is in Indiana, just to the west of Fort Wayne. But yeah, you can see that right there. That is what you'd be looking at in the notch there.
And this shows too how even within this line, tornadoes, as you said, can just pop up quickly, and then before you know it, the line moves.
Moves through, yeah. You know, and that was what we dealt with, you know, for those last two severe weather events. These storms were not discrete of each other. These were these were classic squall lines coming through, but in that line, you could easily get a little bit of a notch there. It's a little hard to tell because this is so close to the radar site right now, but generally there it is. That's what you kind of look for. There's your notch.
Yeah.
Right there. A little bit of a notch allows, you know, all your inflow to kind of come into the storm, and on the back side of it, you know, you have your air rushing around this storm, and then that's how you get, you know, your rotation in these notches on the line here. So that's something that still needs to be messaged for our counties that are under the severe thunderstorm watch. It does look like they expired that warning for Berrien County. They just let that expire here. It's now 4:30.
I think they just issued a special weather statement for the line as it moves in at this point.
So we have a special weather statement for...
Looks like for wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour here for...
this is Berrien into, I believe that's St. Joseph County. Yeah. So 55 mile per hour wind gusts, that's nothing to fool with because that is just below that severe criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning. For a severe thunderstorm warning, radar would have to be indicating, or at least there'd be observed wind gust of 58 mile per hour wind gust or greater. So right on that line here, and even though this is not a warned thunderstorm, you know, here in Berrien, St. Joseph County, this is still a very strong thunderstorm. You can see that bowing of the line here as it's pushing now into southwest Michigan. Still have a few individual storms here to the north of Three Rivers. This is now kind of moving towards southern Kalamazoo County, southern Calhoun County. This is heading in the Union City area. The storm that's in just north of Three Rivers now is pushing just to maybe the east side of Vicksburg, a little east of 131 there of Schoolcraft. The storm, some torrential rain, some,
definitely.
thunder and lightning, maybe just enough for some gustier winds, some small hail there. No warning here on these storms. And then we also have a few, you know, additional storms starting to pop up ahead too. This one now in southern Berry County. This is north of Gull Lake, to the south and east of Orangeville. You can see that this storm it's producing a good amount of rain to the north half of Gull Lake.
And it's still moving northeast at around 45 to 50 miles per hour, so still retaining some speed. Not as, was it closer to 60 earlier when we were looking?
Yeah, it was closer to 60. So that's moving to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. Let's kind of give this a little bit of a track here. Seems like this is a favorable area.
Yeah.
You know, maybe slowing down just a little bit. You know, that Kalamazoo time around 5:24 based on our current path here. But still, it looks like this storm will be pushing in the Van Buren, Kalamazoo County within the next half hour. You know, Three Rivers here at about 5:01. into the Portage area at about 5:18. So yeah, about a half hour or so, this storm is going to be right on the doorstep. So if you're, watching from eastern Van Buren County, Kalamazoo County, and it's still dry out, and you have some loose objects in the yard, you want to quickly go get that real quick, bring them inside, tighten them down. You got about 20, 30 minutes before you're going to see these skies darken and these storms arrive.
It is encouraging that the storms are weakening, though, especially once this rain out and ahead of these storms cut into it. And that's definitely lowering the instability for them to feed off of. So that's encouraging, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the main area where these storms are at their strongest right now is definitely in Indiana still. And based on the direction of where these strongest storms are at right now, this would mostly miss West Michigan. This would be heading towards places such as the Hillsdale area, Coldwater. It'd be heading in this direction based on where we're at right now. But we still have that one tornado warning to the west of Fort Wayne. Again, no active warnings here in West Michigan. Looks like we're just contending with some showers and storms run of the mill right now from the Saugatuck area to the north, even a few of these individual cells here, southern Berrien County, right on the Kalamazoo, Cass County line, then a little bit to the east. Let's see if I got that Holland camera again, if I can pull that up. Yeah, it's raining in Holland. It's raining in Holland, so.
A little bit of thunder and lightning, too. Just a little.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here, though, is that it does seem like, yes, we still have that severe thunderstorm watch here. Bring this up right now if you're just joining us on 13 Plus. Storm Prediction Center did go ahead, issued a severe thunderstorm watch for the southern 2 rows of our viewing area. So that includes Allegan, Berry, Eaton County, and also Van Buren, Kalamazoo, and Calhoun County. That goes all the way until, let me get this on here. Yeah, keep that. Yeah, winds up to 70 miles per hour, hail up to 1.5 inches. Those are going to be the areas that have the best opportunity of severe weather. It just does not appear, as you get farther north of I-96, that these storms will have enough energy left over. I don't want to say we're all in the clear north of I-96. I want to see how this next hour goes, but that's definitely the trend.
Yeah, especially with all the stratiform rain is what we call it, moving into Holland, Grand Rapids, Muskegon. That really cuts back on your fuel.
So, well, it's about 4:37 here. I'm going to let you two continue this stream over the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to go prepare for our 5 o'clock newscast that you can find on our regular programming here on 13 on Your Side. Myself, Elena Holland, and Juliet Trigus, we're going to be here at 5, 5:30, and 6, and continue our main focuses of weather. Beyond the severe weather threat, our active weather is not coming to an end by any means, because we're going to be dealing with the incoming heat and humidity this weekend into early next week. So we're still going to be, having our awareness on a heightened
One thing
scale.
ends and another one happens when one moves in.
So
weather never stops.
So I'm going to take a step out of here.
Okay.
You guys take
Sounds
over,
good.
and we're going to kind of go from there. But that's where we're at right now in terms of these storms.
Do you want us to stay on max 2, Blake? So
You can go on. Yeah, let's do max 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So yeah, what we're tracking still, the worst of the thunderstorms, like we've been mentioning, looks like they're staying in northern Indiana right now for the most part. Thankfully, the one that just passed through South Bend, it is weakening. So as it's heading toward the Kalamazoo area, Battle Creek, it still has some strong wind gusts with it, but it doesn't look like they're severe as of now. Like Anna said, we're in that special weather statement for, is it Kalamazoo County and Van Buren?
We might have actually just gotten another special weather statement
yeah.
on top of that here. Yes, Van Buren and Western Kalamazoo counties. That one's through 5:30, and then we have that one for the counties that had that severe thunderstorm warning or near that severe thunderstorm warning.
So just to the south of that one?
Correct.
Okay. So that's for wind gusts possibly upwards of 50 miles per hour and some super tiny hail. But like we said, that storm is definitely weakening as it continues to march off to the northeast. But the big focus, at least with this thunderstorm complex, is heading toward Fort Wayne, northern Indiana, northeast Indiana specifically. They're the ones who will get the worst of this storm, as they're still out ahead of, they're not dealing with any rain showers right now ahead of those storms. So that's not good news for them. They'll likely see some stronger wind gusts, but like we've been mentioning here, we have all this what we call stratiform rain, especially in portions of Holland, Grand Rapids, extending further down to the south toward Van Buren. So that's kind of eating up the energy that storms really need to blossom and get stronger. So that's encouraging news for us, because this storm, I mean, if I put go back in time, I mean, this storm was pretty strong.
Wow, look at all that lightning.
Yeah, so, oh yeah, especially just, yeah, that is a lot of lightning. So this was what the radar looked like about an hour or so ago, a little bit less than an hour. But you can tell the storm interacted with a lot of this rain out in front of it, and that started to weaken the storms as it crossed into southwest lower Michigan. So that's at least encouraging for us. But still, if you live along I-94, so Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Portage, you'll likely contend with some gustier winds and possibly even some, obviously some heavy rain. That's the big concern with this storm as it continues to move through right around the evening commute time as well. So not good timing, I would say.
Not ideal.
Yeah, the visibility will definitely be on the poor side. Especially along I-94 and points to the south throughout the rest of this evening. And even, I mean, along 196 extending into Holland, some moderate rain and even some lightning and thunder. So that also limits your visibility. It's not fun driving in rain, in my opinion. So that will be something we'll deal with.
What are some of the rainfall rates we're looking at here with, I guess, just the stratiform rain?
The stratiform rain, yeah, let's see. Looks like definitely nothing like we're seeing
crazy,
in northern Indiana, that's for sure. But it looks like just offshore of Holland, the heaviest rainfall rate, it's probably not too strong.
No.
Yeah, less than an inch an hour, which is good news because like we mentioned earlier, Holland is almost in a 2-inch rainfall deficit. So they do need the rain. This is encouraging, especially because this is not severe moving into the Holland area. But the heaviest rainfall rates, definitely just to the south. So this is Berrien County, also into Cass County, just north of South Bend. These rainfall rates probably a little bit more impressive. Yeah, 1.21, almost 2 inches. So that's if you live along I-94 or just to the south of I-94, you'll definitely be dealing with some poor visibility issues over the next hour or two as the storm continues to move on through your region.
Some of these little pop-up cells as well, when I was looking at them earlier, had pretty strong rainfall rates as well. Yeah.
Let's see, what does it look like now? Especially this one north of Kalamazoo, that might have a, almost 3 inch, Even these tiny cells. Now, granted, these ones don't last too long, so that's
that's
good news at least, but still, just to the east of Orangeville, just to the north of Gull Lake, we do have a cell that's dumping a lot of rain, probably a few lightning bolts as well, but that's not severe right now, so that's at least encouraging. Most of these cells in West Michigan are not severe, so that is good news, but obviously we will continue to monitor if any storm does strengthen. But with the rainfall that's moving out ahead of this, what we call bow echo, if you want to say, that's limiting the strength or fuel for these storms as they continue to march on through. What is that for? Looks like...
it looks like the watch was edited.
Okay.
This is the new one.
I don't see any difference. That's interesting. Because it's still through 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's why I thought the locations had to be different. It still said.
Interesting.
All right.
The severe thunderstorm watch, I'll quickly go to that.
The watch was reissued, but nothing really changed. Well, we're not sure what changed. We're going to take a look at that now, I guess.
Yeah, the severe thunderstorm watch. Maybe they just issued it again, possibly, but there's really nothing that changed with it. Still the same counties in West Michigan, so Allegan, Barry, Van Buren, Kalamazoo, Calhoun, all those counties along I-94, the areas that we've been monitoring. Some of those regions are in a special weather statement as well, so that's not technically a severe thunderstorm. A special weather statement is for more so of a strong thunderstorm, so that means winds less than 58 miles per hour and hail less than an inch in diameter. So still noteworthy, still strong, but not severe as of now. I'll go
I
back
think
to
what it
radar.
was those counties that were in that previous tornado watch in the corner. I think they were either added or
Okay.
the timing was changed on
That
those.
makes sense.
A little outside of our area there. That's what I think that was for.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, so this is the current radar right now. You can see mostly just rain moving into Holland, Grand Rapids shortly, Muskegon. Obviously, if you have any outdoor plans, I know a few people have golf outings or other things. I know there's beach volleyball happening at Pierre Marquette in Muskegon. That might be canceled this evening because we do have some light to even moderate rain moving through. It's not fun to be outside playing sports in the rain, in my opinion, so those probably will be rescheduled or canceled. But really the main focus over the next coming hours is along I-94, like we mentioned earlier today. That is the area that has the greatest potential of seeing strong to severe weather, and that is currently ongoing with this stronger gust of wind likely moving through portions of Berrien County right now and also Cass County. But we still have these little isolated storms that we're monitoring in Kalamazoo, Calhoun counties, and even into Barry County right now. Those aren't severe either, but those are dumping heavy rainfall and even some thunder and lightning. So now I'm gonna switch over to velocity to see how it's looking. Yeah, the leading edge of this storm currently pressing through Cass County, Berrien County, approaching the Dowagiac area, eventually Three Rivers, and then Kalamazoo, probably closer to 5:15-ish or so, where you could possibly see that gust up to 50 miles per hour. So thankfully not severe technically, but still noteworthy, and definitely don't want to be outside in this storm as it continues to move on in, because there is also some lightning reported with this. I'll switch over to just regular radar and turn on lightning. So we can see, there's still quite a bit of lightning, especially in Cass County, Berrien County, and even into Van Buren. And like I said, these little cells out ahead of it still have some lightning on them as well. Have you been seeing anything noteworthy, Anna?
It looks like that line is really maintaining its strength to our south, which isn't surprising, more in the Indiana area, because that's where we were seeing that highest risk from the Storm Prediction Center. That's where they placed that 10% risk for tornadoes. That's where a lot of the energy is, and going is to our south, where they have all those ingredients together. So right now, we don't have anything too crazy. That's mainly what's happening. Is majority of it, I would say, is maintaining its strength more through the Indiana area. And here by us, we're not seeing anything too bad too far, but hopefully we're not going to jinx that.
Yeah, it looks like that storm that you were mentioning about definitely heading to the north of Fort Wayne, and likely south of Kalamazoo, south of even Battle Creek possibly. It looks like most of that energy is heading toward the Detroit region rather than us here along I-94, but still we have the northern portion of that storm likely impacting I-94 in the way of 50 mile per hour wind gusts and maybe some very, very tiny hail of pea size, I imagine. But this severe thunderstorm warning, which includes Elkhart County, Kosciuszko County, Noble, and Whitley counties in northern Indiana, that is in effect until 5 p.m., so about 10 more minutes or so for considerable wind, possibly upwards of 70 miles per hour. And like I said, this is not in our area. This is just south of the state line, so northern Indiana, not here in West Michigan. Then looking to the north, that is still within this whole storm complex. These winds also approaching Cass County, Van Buren County, and eventually Kalamazoo County as well. But like I said, we're not expecting severe wind damage right now, so that's some good news. A lot of this rainfall that was out ahead of this storm is cutting back on the instability that we are currently seen across the area. So that's encouraging at least.
Do we have any hail with that line as it moves through now?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. So we can turn on this thing that we called VIL. This allows us to see hail potential. It doesn't look like there would be any severe hail. This is pretty low. And usually Michigan doesn't see, it takes quite a lot to honestly see hail in Michigan. And I don't think this environment is super prime for hail, but maybe some pea-sized hail right now in Bend Harbor toward Dowagiac, just north of South Bend. So Berrien County into Cass County, and then possibly once the storm continues to move through to the northeast around Van Buren County, Kalamazoo County as well. But it doesn't look to be any severe hail as of now, especially because given the fact that this is only a special weather statement and not a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's some good news. But I do want to switch over to the future radar before we end up wrapping things up just before the show starts. Just to give you guys an idea of where these storms likely will be tracking and also how fast they're moving and when you can expect the storms to be ending in your area. So this is 5 p.m. right here. So shortly, just 10 minutes or so from now, you can see the storm impacting Allegan County to Kalamazoo County. So that's where that special weather statement is still in effect for wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So still noteworthy, but possibly could bring down a few weak branches. No major trees are expected to fall down because the winds aren't too strong with this storm, thankfully, as it has weakened somewhat. But then this is 6 p.m. You can see all the storm activity moving to the south of Grand Rapids for the most part. So Berry County, Eaton County, heading toward Lansing, Battle Creek, likely picking up some heavy rain and some embedded thunder and lightning as well. And then once we get through the rest of the evening hours, you can see that low pressure system moving right overhead. It's centered around Allegan County, so the best chance of some heavier rain continuing through this evening likely will be just north of that low pressure system. So if you live in points like Muskegon, Fremont, Ludington, Pentwater, Shelby, Big Rapids, you'll likely hold on to that rain opportunity through the rest of this evening tonight, as this is 11 p.m. showing the heaviest rain along the lakeshore just north of Muskegon. Then once we get to about 2 a.m., still you can see some widespread rain will be likely. Not so much in the way of severe weather or heavy rain, but some light to moderate rain showers. Maybe a few areas of thunder and lightning will continue into the overnight hours tonight. And then by daybreak tomorrow, looks like most of the activity will likely be out of here. So looks like it will be a rainy night tonight, especially if you live north of I-96, as that low pressure system moves basically just overhead. This is how much rain that could fall across West Michigan by tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I think this model might be overdoing some locations like Muskegon. You might not get exactly 2 inches of rain, obviously, because that's just where the model thinks thunderstorms could possibly train over the area. But you can tell that it looks to be a wet evening and a wet night across West Michigan. But like I said, we need the rain. We are in a rainfall deficit, so this is encouraging news. Hopefully we can eat at that deficit quite a bit overnight tonight as some heavier rain showers move through the area. But once we get past this, it's all about the heat, and you can see the latest 6 to 10 day temperature outlook is pretty hot for the eastern portions of the United States, including us here in West Michigan. And before things wrap up here in about 90 seconds or so, I'm going to show the high temperature forecast, because it does look like it's going to be pretty hot going into next week.
Hot and humid.
Yeah, you can see a 94 Sunday and Monday, 90 on Tuesday. And when you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel closer to that century mark. So it's going to get toasty around here.
Yeah, it sure will get toasty. That's for sure. You know, I think, before we wrap this up, guys, really appreciate you guys being here today. Today was both your off days, so really appreciate you two for coming in and helping us out. The bottom line, we're about to start our newscast here at about 5 o'clock. If you are watching on 13 Plus, you can continue to watch here on 13 Plus. This will just stream over to the 5 o'clock newscast in about 5 minutes from now. If you're not watching on 13 Plus and you may be watching on YouTube, well, go download the 13
Yeah.
Plus app on
Do it.
Roku, Fire TV,
You
or
have a few
Apple TV.
minutes.
Yeah, you got a few minutes to do so before the 5 o'clock show hits. But again, thank you guys so much. We'll continue to cover any severe weather that's ongoing over the next few hours here in West Michigan. For myself, Anna, and Colton, we're going to sign off on this stream. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
This has been a 13 Weather Impact Alert.